It's another Thunder Thursday on News OK Live. I'm Mike Sherman, sports editor of the Oklahoman, here with our esteemed Thunder coverage team. Beat writer Anthony Slater, columnist Berry Tramel, the cardboard cutout of beat writer Darnell Mayberry, and columnist Jenni Carlson. Thunder Thursdays are brought to you by our good friends at Wheeler Chevrolet. Take that drive down I-40, save yourself some time and money. Guys, the boys are back in town. The Oklahoma City Thunder held Media Day just Monday. We were all there. Lots of things said, lots of things written. The thing that really stands out from a news standpoint, however, is the indication that the Thunder's got two starting positions up for grabs. Anthony, is it true? Is this really a competitive situation for two starting spots?
Yeah, I mean, it's for sure. The starting two guard has to be because Tabo's gone, and they haven't announced anyone. And I really do think it's an open competition going into camp with Robertson. Maybe you'd label him the favorite. Jeremy Lamb's an option. Reggie Jackson vocally, obviously, as we saw at Media Day, vocally wants it. So that's definitely a competition. And then I think the center position I think it already was going into camp. I think a lot of people are starting to lean towards maybe Steven Adams getting this job. And he's kind of got a leg up right now because Kendrick Perkins is out at least 2 weeks with the quad injury, maybe longer. He's had lingering injuries lately, so I think center's definitely a competition too.
Barry, not to wish Kendrick Perkins any ill will. However, as you think about Thunder fans getting down on their knees and praying for things related to this basketball team, how much do you think a majority of them were praying for a change at center?
Oh, most of them, but they don't. Just because they're right doesn't mean they're not kooks. I mean, the assault on Kendrick Perkins' basketball decorum the last 2 or 3 years has been over the top. Perkins is still a valuable player. He still helps out a bunch. They wouldn't have got past Memphis, wouldn't have got past the Clippers without him. With that said, I do think it's time for Steven Adams to take more of the role, to get more of the minutes against most teams. Still some teams where they're going to need Perkins to play 25 minutes a game. But a good many nights in the NBA, they're not going to need Perkins at all.
Darnell, is this a competition, or does Kendrick Perkins' injury in training camp give Steven Adams the upper hand?
Yeah, I think Steven Adams now has the upper hand, not just because of Perkins' injury. I think that has a lot to do with it. But I think Scott Brooks saw last year that Steven Adams, just like the rest of us, Scott Brooks saw Steven Adams does things that Kendrick Perkins simply cannot do. Perkins does some things that Steven Adams can't do, but I think for the most part, I think Steven Adams can make more of a positive impact on both ends than Kendrick Perkins is capable of at this point in his career. And I think Steven Adams is probably going to get a real hard look for that starting spot. I still think Scott Brooks is going to want to go with the experienced veteran, but it's going to be hard. I think Steven Adams is going to really have to make a lot of mistakes, basically, to lose the job, because I think Scott Brooks sees what we all see, and that's just Steven Adams is a more impactful player.
Jenni, the defensive disposition. Sorry.
Easy for you to say.
Easy for me. The defensive disposition that Sam Presti harped upon in his preseason press conference. That's got Kendrick Perkins' name written all over it. And then we heard Kendrick Perkins, in essence, lobbying for the starting job, talking about, I know things that other people don't know. I know how to play. Does he still, even despite his sort of reduced physical state, does he still have a strong claim to that, especially given Sam Presti's desire for this to be a defensive team?
Absolutely he does, and the stats would bear that out. I mean, I think if you look at the season statistics last year, I don't have them in front of me right now, but it was pretty deep in the season, and Perk was still one of the best rim protectors in the NBA. People might not want to believe that. They might want to say that's skewed, but that's the same statistic for everybody, and he's still ranked as one of the better rim defenders out there. His ability to, turn back guys at the rim, allows Serge Ibaka to do some things to get out away from the basket and defend like he can, and I think that gives them some flexibility. Now, I'm not saying that Steven Adams isn't a good defender. We've obviously seen that he is quality, but I do think that there's some things that Kendrick Perkins has learned from his years in the league. Thought it was funny that he talked about the younger set of centers and the fact that he still feels like he's smarter than most of them, and that's something that he has that they can't replicate. And I think there is something to be said for that knowledge that he's gained over all these years and what it can do for his game. So I think he's still going to have a role in this. I still think he's going to make a push for that spot, but I do think the injury is going to be a little bit of an interesting part of this whole thing. How does it factor in? How much does he get to play? Does it matter? What does Steven Adams do while he's out? If last year's any indication in the playoffs, Steven Adams is probably going to do some pretty spectacular stuff while Perk is on the bench.
Barry, I'll give you the last word on this one. Is there any chance that the defensive disposition is a challenge to the rest of the starters and giving them a chance to step up and really dedicate themselves to defense in order to make way for Steven Adams?
I actually think it's more tied into the two guard than the center. So maybe the answer is yes. I mean, I think Thunder's going to get solid defense out of Adams, and excellent defense out of Perkins. I sort of took it as a challenge to Reggie Jackson, is how I took it, really. If Reggie is the star that he seems to think he is, then he'll be a shutdown defender. So, I took that as a sort of a challenge to Reggie.
You segue to our next topic, but first we're going to vote. Who will be the Thunder's starting center when the season opens, starting with Jenny?
I previously said Perk, but this injury thing has me a little bit concerned. And frankly, there's no reason for them to push Perk to be out there. He doesn't need to play preseason games. He probably doesn't even need to play early season games. So I think I'm leaning more towards Steven Adams in the opener because of Perk's injury. But if Perk's healthy, don't be surprised to see him start.
Darnell, who starts the opener?
Kendrick Perkins.
Barry.
I got Steven Adams. I thought Adams because I think Robertson's going to start. So I'm going to stay with Adams even if Perk gets healthy.
And Anthony, who you got?
Steven Adams. The future is now.
The future may not be now for Reggie Jackson, of course. The Reggie Watch continued with his interesting comments on Media Day. Darnell, Reggie tried a different tact on why he wants to start. The concept that nobody who comes off the bench ever was one of the all-time greats. What did you think of that line of thinking?
Obviously, I was familiar with what he said. I wasn't in there when he said it, but I understand what he's saying. I think he looks at it like people who are great players don't come off the bench. And for the most part, the best players in the league are going to be in the first five. They're going to not only start the game, but they're going to finish the game. They're going to be playing against the other team's best players. So as a guy who sees himself someday getting to that point and wanting to be that type of player, I totally understand where he's coming from. I had no problem with what he said. It was like his third time saying it. So obviously he's sticking to his guns, and I can't fault him for it. You can never fault someone who wants to be the best that they can be in whatever it is that they're doing. So I actually applaud his line of thinking. Obviously, as Barry can probably point out, he blogged about it. It wasn't exactly accurate.
Jenny, this seems like a very un-Thunder-like thing for Reggie to do and say, and yet he's singing the third stanza of this song. Does that surprise you at all?
A little bit. I asked Sam Presti at his press conference last week if it was troubling at all how Reggie Jackson, and to that point we hadn't had the media day sermon on the Mount from Reggie Jackson about being a starter. So it had just been in a couple instances that he'd talked about it, and I asked if that was troubling, and Sam said it wasn't. I wasn't surprised at that, but still, I guess I am a little bit surprised that somebody, somewhere along the line hasn't maybe said, hey, yes, you can believe that. Yes, it's out there, but let's move on. And maybe that's somebody that would say that is a Kevin Durant or a Kendrick Perkins or somebody veteran in that locker room. But, clearly that's something Reggie Jackson believes. He's not afraid to say. I think it brings up an interesting question. If he ends up going somewhere else to become a starter, is it going to be somewhere else that, is not as close to being a championship caliber team? Does he become a starter in the NBA, which is all good and fine? There are a lot of starters in the NBA that would probably trade spots with Reggie Jackson pretty quickly to have a chance to play on a contending team like this. So it's a really interesting debate, one that Reggie Jackson has clearly staked a claim on, but I do think it's going to be interesting to see just how much more he says about this.
Anthony, what's more of an impediment to Reggie Jackson becoming a starter? Reggie's defensive liabilities or the bench's offensive liabilities without him?
I'd say the bench's offensive liabilities without him, but we keep saying he came out and said he wanted to be a starter. I thought he almost came out and said, I want to be a star.
I agree.
Which was what was interesting to me. He was coming out basically saying he wants to be like a feature guy and that type of stuff. He started using Jordan and Kyrie Irving and Chris Paul as kind of, comparisons. So that's what I kind of maybe found troubling as far as, hey, he plays on a team that already has Kevin Durant and Russell Westbrook. But as far as your question, I think it's the offensive liabilities. You're going to have Anthony Morrow, which will help this year. Jeremy Lamb would be coming off the bench if Reggie's in the starting lineup. But, we'll see. I actually think he has a decent chance to make the starting lineup. And Brooks even said on media day that he'd thought about it when somebody asked about having 2 6'3" guards. He said it's something I've been thinking about this summer.
Barry, Reggie Jackson's.
When I was a kid, I loved the word name Reggie. I thought it was the coolest name. I thought, wouldn't it be cool to have a name like Reggie?
We've been looking for a nickname for Reggie. We've been looking for a nickname for you forever.
Lifelong dream.
Wait, is this going to be the new Clooney? Please don't tell me it's going to be the new Clooney.
You can call me whatever you want.
I didn't call you Clooney either, so I'm not going to call you Reggie. I can promise you that.
I'm going to pass. Barry.
Pass.
I'm going to pass. Barry, does Reggie Jackson have the makings of a star?
He doesn't look like it to me. Looks like a really good player. But he doesn't look like – I don't know. Let me ask you, is Lowry a star?
Yeah, look, like maybe
Kyle Lowry a star.
No, maybe all-star status, but not a superstar. Certainly not a superstar.
Kyle Lowry is not a star, and anybody that wants to say that is out of their head.
All-star. He's an all-star.
But he's not a star.
Okay, so superstar. I think there's a difference between stars and superstars, like top-level elite, top 15, top 20 guys, which I don't think Reggie is. I think he could average 17 on a random Eastern Conference team, 17 and 8 or something like that.
He might get in the 20s. Put him in Sacramento.
Yeah.
Again, that brings up the question of where do you want to be a starter? Do you think being a starter in a Sacramento or, Charlotte or somewhere like that is a place where you can become a star? I don't know. I'm not sure. I think that's where you go to become a star.
Darnell, what about
it? Here's what the question is. Does he want to be Manu Ginobili or does he want to be Kyle Lowry? It sounds like he wants to be Kyle Lowry to me.
Yep, me too.
Darnell?
Well, it sounds like he wants to be Michael Jordan.
Darnell?
Don't we all?
Yeah.
And I want to be George Clooney.
Call Reggie. Call Barry Reggie. Call me MJ. If we're going to just go out with random names, why not, right?
Hey, Darnell, is Reggie got the makings of a star? And is it possible that on Monday he took a little turn down James Harden Boulevard?
You mean in terms of saying one thing and then next thing we know he's going to be out of here?
Yeah. Did that sort of say that he wanted something beyond what is available in Oklahoma City, which is really what hastened James Harden's exodus from Oklahoma City?
Yeah, that turn didn't happen on Monday. It happened in June 1st, I believe it was, at exit interviews. That's when he first really opened up and talked about it. He talked to me about it again over in China this summer. Monday just happened to be the third time that he talked about it this summer. So I just think that the guy wants to have a starting role, number one. Like Slater and Berry said, he wants to be a star, number two. And the third thing that nobody mentioned is he wants paid relatively handsomely. So, I think all those things, just the writing's on the wall. And the way I see it, I don't think he's going to be in town much longer. I don't think they're going to trade him before October 31st like they did James Harden. So I think that's the big difference. I think he'll play out the season. And I do think a team like Dallas or the Lakers or the Knicks or even Miami, the Miami Heat, they might have some money to spend next year depending on what they do elsewhere next summer. So there's some big market teams and some deep-pocketed owners out there that could make a run at Reggie Jackson and throw him $12 million a year. I don't think the Thunder's ever going to pay Reggie Jackson as much or more than they're paying Serge Ibaka, which is $12.25 million. That just sends a bad message. You can't have one of the league's best defensive players making $12 million and then a sixth man making $12 million. So I just don't think Reggie's long for the Thunder, and I think the writing's on the wall.
Knicks are interesting, I think, with Derek Fisher seemed to develop a nice relationship with Reggie. They're going to need a point guard. I know they got Calderon now, but he's getting old. I think that's actually an interesting label or team that could potentially come in and swoop in and get him.
Guys, let's vote. Reggie Jackson's status or up in the air status of what he wants and what the Thunder has for him available this year. Is that a problem or is that a great potential for this Thunder team? Barry?
No, what's the question?
Is it well? Let me make it simple. Is this a good thing for the Thunder this year or a bad thing?
I don't think he's going to slough off. I think he'll give them everything they've got, but I don't think it's a good thing when a guy is somewhat and that's what it appears to be. We've talked about Reggie Jackson and his DNA. The Thunder loves him. Sam Presti loves him. But at some point, we're going to have to do another DNA test. Because sitting here talking about, I want the ball, I want to be a star, that's really not the Thunder DNA, even with its superstars. I can't see where it's a good thing.
Jenny, is it a problem or potentially a good thing to have Reggie Jackson so motivated and so striving for this season for the Thunder?
I have to lean towards problem. I'm with Barry. I don't think Reggie Jackson's gonna play less hard, but when he doesn't land a starting spot, which it sure seems to me like he's not going to land a starting spot, you have to wonder how's his morale going to be. How's he going to be just day to day, walking around, being with teammates. Kendrick Perkins is in the interview room on Monday talking about sacrifice and how if this team wants to achieve to the level of the Spurs, they have to do some things like the Spurs, including sacrifice. And that comes on the heels of Reggie Jackson talking all about how he wants to be a star, he wants to be a starter. Both guys are being honest, but do those things line up, and how do they gel as the season goes on? I think it's got a chance to be a little bit of a problem for this team. A team that really hasn't had many problems like this.
Darnell, is Reggie's aspirations a problem for this year's Thunder team, or could they be something that gives the team a boost?
It's a good thing. It's a good thing that Reggie Jackson feels that way for this season. It's a bad thing for the season after. I think he's going to go out there and play as hard as he possibly can. I think he's going to play extremely well. I think he's going to have the best year of his career. But that's also going to boost his value even more. He's my preseason prediction to win Sixth Man of the Year. So, if he does that, that's going to bring in even more attention. It's going to drive up the price even more. So I think it's a great thing for the Thunder this year. I think it's a bad thing for them going forward.
Slater, was that like the church lady? I agree, or the I can't believe Darnell just said that.
No, it was my eye roll. Like, oh yeah.
Oh, okay. I wasn't sure what the was. Okay, gotcha.
It was oh yeah, that's the surprise.
Anthony, what about it? Is this going to be a problem? Is Reggie going to be a problem, or is he give this team more potential with his aspirations?
Well, I mean, it's well known in sports. I mean, contract years. He's going to be playing for a contract, which is a good thing as far as he's going to be playing really hard. Maybe he'll be playing defense better, but at the same time, do you want him late in the game? He's going to be on the court late in the games with Kevin Durant, with Russell Westbrook. Do you want him? Wanting to take the shots, wanting to make the shots. I think it's going to be an interesting dynamic. And if he doesn't have his contract settled as the season goes on, it's going to be interesting to watch how he plays. Does he try to take more shots in crunch time? You remember, I mean, there was times last year, even when Russell Westbrook was out, when he wasn't giving Durant the ball, and there was, they'd be arguing back and forth. I'm just interested to see how it all plays out.
Speaking of intriguing situations, speaking of un-Thunder-like things, Anthony, you were in the press room when the Berry Tramel eruption happened.
Eruption,
Reggie Jackson's talking on the podium. Tell us what happened. And you're great at imitations, so feel free to imitate.
Oh, my. Well, I don't want to imitate too much now. Reggie Jackson was up there. He talks really quiet. And Berry was right as far as it was the most interesting thing. It's what we're still talking about today. He was going on and on about, being a starter and his parent, the 70%, 30% thing with his parents. And Jeremy Lamb and some other people were out in the hallway being really loud. And, hey, quiet down in the hallway!
We don't know if it was Jeremy Lamb.
We don't know for sure. Jeremy Lamb was definitely out there. He was popping in and out. But there was a lot of people. There was a ruckus. There was food out there.
It was the food. It was a problem.
Everyone was having a great time. And, Reggie Jackson's up there, saying the most interesting thing we've heard out of a Thunder player in probably a year. So, hey, he did a good job. They quieted down real quick.
Why are we asking for AC, an impression? We've got the real thing here, Berry.
All right, Berry.
Quiet in the hallway.
That was it exactly. That sounds 100%.
Did somebody just play that? Did somebody just play that recording? Do that one more time.
Quiet in the hallway.
It was great. And then he went, ridiculous.
Can I put that on like my ringtone or something?
Hey, he followed it with a ridiculous.
Oh, dear. Guys, speaking of lighter moments at Media Day, Darnell, did you follow the wrong guy? Jenni Carlson, in her infinite wisdom today, pointed out that when we assigned you to follow Kevin Durant on Media Day, I assigned you to follow the wrong guy. Is that right?
I don't see too many better guys to follow than Kevin Durant. The only two that I can think of that would come close, and it'd be more for comical purposes, Steven Adams and Mitch McGary.
Steven Adams for sure, I'd say.
We didn't know that the stash was going to show up. We didn't know Magnum PI was in the building.
You should have assigned me to follow Magnum PI. I would have been down for that.
Berry, for all the Thunder's great research into players and deep background and finding the guys who really fit in, is there a chance that Sam Presti did not spend enough time in New Zealand, did not get to the bottom of Steve Adams? Because if he was, is he really after the next Johnny Carson?
I think the Thunder wishes Steven Adams was not quite the humanitarian that he is, but they still love him because of the kind of ball player he is.
Think about that draft.
And the best part of Steven Adams is not when he's trying to be funny. It's when he just tells the naked truth, not knowing that it's coming across as funny. Like somebody asked him about, the roughhousing reputation he got as a rookie, and how is he going to carry that label through? And he said he basically said he didn't even realize what the question was about, and somebody had to explain it to him. And he said, "Don't blame me. Go talk to the coaches." He said, "I just do what the coaches tell me, and if something happens, it happens." And that's exactly what he's literally doing as a rookie. Is they said, "Here, go out here and stand here and do that. And Steven Adams would go out there and stand there and do that. And when you got an NBA player that does that, exactly what you tell him to do, it's a blessed thing.
And so what Berry seems to be saying, Jenny, is that Scott Brooks or somebody, maybe Mark Bryan, ordered Steven Adams to go into the game and be a nuisance.
Get in the way.
Yeah. I mean, whatever they told him, they just keep telling him. It seemed to work pretty well last year, and it really got under people's skin. So, yeah, I mean, you can't go very wrong with following Kevin Durant around on media day after he wins the MVP. But, man, it would have been fun to spend 2 hours with Steven Adams. If we could have had an extra person just to do that, would have been a great time. I'll volunteer next year.
Darnell, let's vote now. You look at Steven Adams' mustache, which has gone on. Who did he most look like to you in the annals of great mustaches?
Tom Selleck. I thought he nailed it. He said that was the inspiration. You Google a picture of Tom Selleck, it looked just like him.
You know what this did? This gave me a reason to go listen to the Magnum PI theme again. That's good stuff, friends. Go listen. It's a lot of fun.
I'll take that as Jenny's vote for Tom Selleck on the mustache.
Who's the dude that starred with in Something About Mary? Famous actor, not Ben
Stiller.
Not Ben Stiller, the other one.
I know who you're talking about.
That's who the mustache.
Matt Dillon's brother, or
Matt Dillon.
Matt Dillon. Never mind, Matt Dillon.
Yeah, Matt Dillon. They look like Matt Dillon's mustache in Something About Mary.
Yeah,
wow.
I can see that.
Anthony?
I'm going to go local and say he looks a little bit like Beat Baldwin.
Ooh,
it was Baldwin-esque. It was Baldwin-esque.
Oh, man.
He looks like Baldwin's mustache if it was cowering and being bullied by Todd Schonthaler's mustache.
Oh, my goodness.
Anthony,
the tall man met the really tall man. What would that be like?
Anthony, I've got one you'll never get. This is the one, folks. I'm just telling you. This is the one. Queen, lead singer, Freddie Mercury. Check it out sometime. Steven Adams and Freddie Mercury, they had the exact same mustache. I think he even combed it while looking at an album cover from Queen.
Whatever you say.
Hey, by the way, is AC growing a little Steven Adams tribute mustache there? Is that what I see?
No. What that is a Jonas Valanciunas beard. That's a full Jonas Valanciunas beard is what that is.
Just checking.
I'll take it.
I'll have to say, when it comes to lookalikes, Landry Jones, step aside. Jonas Valanciunas is now the new sheriff in Anthony's town.
It has been for a long time, according to Darnell.
Guys, let's...
Landry Jones. I don't understand Landry Jones. I do not look anything like Landry Jones.
Well, not with all that facial hair. No, you don't. That's true. Guys, let's end it on a serious, sad, somber note.
Doesn't seem like a good idea.
I know.
The NBA's greatest halftime act is no more. Darnell.
That's subjective.
It's not.
What are we going to do without Red Panda?
That wasn't the best halftime show.
We're going to hope for the Olate dogs even more. That's what we're going to do.
No, the Beale Street.
Or quick change.
Beale Street Clippers.
You're getting... Hey, AC. You say that again, and you're going to get your writer's card revoked.
Flip.
Oh, my.
Berry, Red Panda is your favorite. I've been told that you either stood and clapped or clapped aggressively, enthusiastically every time she performed.
True.
I hope everybody in the arena did. If you didn't, there's something wrong with you.
She was good.
She's on a 20-foot unicycle.
She was good.
Kicking bowls from her instep onto the top of her head. Do you understand what I'm saying? I mean, they make movies about people who walk across a tightrope in New York City. This gal's on a 20-foot unicycle, putting bowls, 10, 12 bowls, kicking them from her instep to the top of her head.
I'm not sure what's funnier, Barry and his recreation of the Reggie Jackson press conference, or that. I'm not sure. I think we've had two highlights.
Everybody go home tonight.
Humor.
Everybody go home tonight and try to balance one bowl on your instep. Just do that.
While sitting on the
Sitting in
couch.
the comfort of your couch.
Yep.
Darnell, do we have a worthy heir to the throne of greatest NBA halftime entertainment?
You know, Berry just sold me. She was good. She had a good run, and she was very talented. I'm going to miss her.
She's over 40 years old, by the way. We saw her flipping those bowls off her instep onto that tall unicycle at 40 plus, ladies and gentlemen. She was fantastic.
Well, let's not pretend that over 40 is 86.
Well, no, but it's still over 40.
You, my friend, are about to get real excited about people over 40 here in about 10 months.
It's true.
Thanks, guys. That's all for this edition of Thunder Thursdays on News OK Live. But you can stay with the best coverage team anywhere, every day at News OK and every morning in the Oklahoma. And remember, Thunder Thursdays are brought to you by our good friends at Wheeler Chevrolet. Take that drive down I-40. Save yourself some time and money. Start flipping those bowls.